Welcome, everyone. My name is Shirley, and I will be your moderator this evening. I am excited to welcome Shea Forcade, Sales Coordinator at Unitas, who will be addressing some of the most common issues a practice faces when negotiating their PPO fees. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to go over some quick housekeeping. CE is available for this webinar this evening. If you would like to participate in CE, please click on and complete the survey that will pop up at the end of this presentation. Jay, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us here tonight. I will pass it over to you now.
Great. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Shirley, for the introduction, and welcome everyone. I hope that you can settle in, get some water. I'm double fisting this evening. I have my cucumber water and some tea. So feel free to relax, get a notepad, and we're going to talk today about some negotiation strategies. I'm sure that in this economy, everyone is looking to raise their reimbursements. Of course, your costs have been going through the roof lately. So we're just going to go over some tips and tricks. Of what our company does as best practices to maximize your reimbursement rates from the PPOs. So without further ado, my name is Shea again, and I'm going to be speaking with you today about maximizing your PPO reimbursements. So a little intro to Unitas if you've never heard of us. We have been working with dentists since 2011. We have negotiated on behalf of thousands of practices all over the US. We currently represent over 1,500 dental practices, and that number is growing every day. We do have over 100 consultants on our team, and I used to be a consultant for Unitas myself. So I'm excited to share with you today some of our top tips and tricks for understanding these PPOs. It does get very confusing, and understanding how you can get reimbursed more fairly just based on the times today. So as an overview, what we'll cover today, number one, the basis for what we do is how to identify and map out your PPO participation per doctor and identify issues there. Number two, how to utilize a proven three-step PPO negotiation framework to boost your success. And number three, the simple calculation to use when forecasting your PPO negotiation return on investment. So if you want to download a breakdown of what we talk about today, you can scan this QR code. If you're not tech savvy like me, you could also just go to www.ppoguide.com, and there you'll be able to download this e-guide that's going to show you all of the framework from what we talk about today. So number one, like I said, identifying and mapping out your specific PPO participation. Sounds easy, but it can get complicated very quickly. So number one, discovering and mapping out your PPO participation. Number two, receiving and documenting your actual fee schedule reimbursements. Many practices have very old fee schedules in their software, and they're not really aware of that. And number three, we'll go over comparing and repairing any UCR versus reimbursement discrepancies. So for mapping out your PPO participation, just so you know, there are three different ways you can be in network. And back in the day, it was very straightforward. You just credential with the PPO and it is what it is. But nowadays it has gotten more complicated. Of course, there's a direct contract, which is you just sign up with the PPO, and that's a very straightforward relationship. However, you can participate with one PPO under another PPO's fee schedule. So for example, United Concordia is notorious for having lots of plans underneath their fee schedule. That's just one of many examples, you know, emeritus, principal, so on and so forth, that can go through that fee schedule. And then lastly, there's umbrella networking, which is becoming more common and more popular. A lot of folks are with umbrella networks, but they may not even actually be using them to their advantage, and we'll kind of go over that today as well. But umbrella networks are the third way to participate, and they are not PPOs, they're third parties, and they have relationships with most of these major PPOs, pretty much everyone besides Delta. So what you want to do is you're going to want to call provider relations to confirm participation per doctor and per location. This is a big mistake that I see. Doctors assuming that your participation is the same because our TIN is credentialed, and unfortunately, that's not how it works. Every credentialing situation and all of your participation is going to be probably different, even though you assume it's the same. It's usually not. 9 times out of 10, it's not. So that's why we recommend confirming per doctor, per your location, just to get that most accurate information. So we will provide you with an up-to-date providers relations number list at the end of the webinar. I also recommend that you put all this information in a spreadsheet just to stay organized. Scratch paper probably isn't going to do it because this is a really extensive process. And you just want to confirm, how is my doctor participating with you? And again, go over the participation types. So you may need to ask further, is this a direct contract? Or am I through another PPO? Am I through an umbrella company? You always want to key in on those basic participation types. You want to ask your fee schedule effective date. That's very important. And then you want to ask for an updated copy of the fee schedule because, believe it or not, these insurance companies do update their fee schedules throughout the years, sometimes in an okay way, maybe $1 or $2 here or there, and sometimes not in a great way. Sometimes it lowers, and we've all, or a lot of us have been there. And so it's always good to just get an updated copy and have that on hand at all times to start this process. So again, just going over the different ways of participation. Direct contract, most basic way to be in network. A direct contract can result in a PPO to PPO relationship because most of these PPOs do have other PPOs that they have relationships with underneath their fee schedule. Okay. And participation type number 3, again, is umbrella networking. Umbrella networks are not PPOs, but they have relationships with PPOs. The unfortunate reality is that when you go to credential with multiple plans in your practice, and I know a lot of you are seeing this on your own, what happens is that when you go to submit the claim to the insurance company, if you don't have a direct contract, then what happens is they'll choose the next lowest payer out of those relationships to reimburse you on. And that's a real issue, and we'll kind of dive more into that today as well. So understanding how you participate with each PPO is going to set the framework for understanding how you need to negotiate and optimize your reimbursements. Because if you have a direct contract, you need to go directly to that carrier and negotiate. Versus if you have a PPO under another PPO or under an umbrella company, you're going to want to use that mother company for the negotiation. And then from there, it's going to affect all PPOs underneath. So receiving and documenting your actual fee schedule reimbursements, you want to call provider relations. Many PPOs do have a portal, so that's always a great way to check as well. Or you can email them for copies of your current fee schedules per doctor, again, and per location. And you do want to update your Dentrix or practice management software with your current fee schedules, because again, this is going to be the most accurate thing to set the framework for what we do. And of course, less headaches as well with treatment plans and things for your staff. So next, we're going to talk about comparing and repairing UCR versus reimbursement discrepancies. So obviously, each of your practices is unique. No two dental practices are the same in how you do things and the procedures that are most important to you in your practice. So we always recommend that you enter your fee schedules into a spreadsheet and compare your top 20 to 35 UCRs versus your reimbursements, because obviously those main grouping of codes is going to be what's the most pertinent to your practice. We recommend that you raise the UCRs where necessary. No UCR should be at or below your highest reimbursing fee schedule, because insurance companies will pick the lower of the two to pay you on at the end of the day. You want to utilize available percentile-based analysis tools to ensure that your UCRs are competitive for your area. Ultimately, if you have low UCRs, that is showing the insurance companies your price point. So we always encourage providers to have up-to-date UCRs before they move into negotiations. And like I was saying, high UCR fees can correlate with high reimbursement rates. You always want to aim high for high results when it comes to negotiations. So if you're just joining us, you can scan this QR code to get a download of the framework from PPO negotiations of what we're going to go over today, or you can go to www.ppoguide.com. So number 2, how to utilize a proven 3-step PPO negotiation framework to boost your success. So number 1, we need to ensure that you don't waste time on the wrong procedures. Number 2, approaching the PPO negotiation process. And number 3, comparing offers received from the PPOs. So what you want to do to start off is export your annual production summary from your practice management software. You want the report to be listed by procedure code, quantity, and production. From there, you're going to want to sort your procedures in a spreadsheet from highest grossing to lowest grossing. Typically, we find that top 35 codes are encompassing of the majority of your revenue. Of course, that's for a GP practice. If you're a specialist office, you will have, less codes there. Number 3, you want to use these procedures in step 2. Also, when comparing fee schedule offers, a fun trick of insurance companies is they'll raise certain fees that aren't really pertinent to your practice, and then they'll lower some. And so you always want to key in on those specific codes, because everything else is really just a distraction from what makes sense for you. So approaching the PPO negotiation process, just so you're aware of just the general rule of thumb, most PPOs will consider negotiations every 2 or 3 years. So what you want to do is reach out to provider relations and request a fee schedule increase. So this is what I was saying earlier. You have to pay attention to your participation to understand how you should negotiate, because if you're participating, let's say with Emeritus through Aetna, you can't go to Emeritus for a fee schedule increase. You have to go to Aetna, because Aetna is the main payer, okay? So comparing offers received from the PPOs. So using the previous steps, you want to identify those top procedure codes that are highest quantity and highest in production revenue. In a spreadsheet, you want to compare your current fee schedule reimbursements versus the new fee schedule across those top codes. And then you want to pay attention to the annual frequency of each procedure when evaluating the offer, because some fee schedules, like I said earlier, may increase and decrease just depending on what they offer. And this is something that insurance companies will do. So a $100 procedure increase could be outweighed by a $5 decrease, just depending on the frequency of each code. And then lastly, this is a very, very important step. You want to audit your EOBs very closely after you accept an increase. And the reason why is because we are all very aware that insurance can make mistakes. It happens every day, all the time. So you need to be on them, hold them accountable. If you have a paper trail, you have it in writing, this fee schedule should have been effective on this day, you need to hold them to that. Check those EOBs, make sure that they're paying you correctly. And just so you know, most fee schedule increases will take around 30 to 90 days to go into effect. Some PPOs, it could be a little bit longer. And then number 3, we are going to go over a simple calculation to use when forecasting your PPO negotiation return on investment. This is something that we use within our company. So number 1, how do you ensure that your PPO fees are competitive for your area? I get this question all the time. Number 2, minimizing optimization risks and maximizing benefits. We're going to dive into that. Optimization of your contracts is a great way to increase revenue, and we'll kind of go over those details. And then number 3, how to calculate your return on investment from PPO negotiations. So, how to ensure that your PPO offers are competitive for your area. Number 1, just so you know, if you get locked into a fee schedule, most are locked in for a minimum of 2 years. So, I always recommend to clients, if you're negotiating, you want to be on the best rate possible. So, don't just accept the first offer that they give you. You want to go back and forth, continue negotiating until you get that best and final available offer. Okay. Number 2, our company Unitas does have the data to compare your offers and understand how competitive they are for your area. Texas looks very different than New York, looks very different than Florida, and all the zip codes within each of those states looks very different. And we have worked with thousands of practices all over the US. So we have this information. We can see down to the nitty gritty and see how your offers compare and what your fees look like. Number 3, we do have high level or dedicated insurance contacts that many practices don't have access to. If you are just calling provider relations, it's definitely a hustle to get through to someone. You really have to keep at it to be consistent if you want to see those results. And with us, we do have that in because we have those higher level points of contact that we work with. We have a very streamlined process. We're always meeting with the PPOs to make sure that we can optimize our workflows with them. Number 4, we can negotiate on your behalf for many of the PPOs. Like I said, we've negotiated on behalf of thousands of practices all over the US. And lastly, we do have a highly trained team with years of experience and a proven track record, not only for negotiations, but for optimization as well, which we'll get into in just a minute. So, how to minimize optimization risks and maximize benefits. So, negotiations themselves are great. You go to the insurance company, you get the highest available offer, and majority of people will come to us assuming that's what we do. And yes, it's a massive part of what we do. However, if you just negotiate alone, I like to compare it to it's like going to the gym, but eating unhealthy afterwards, which we're all guilty of doing sometimes. But if you do negotiations and you don't optimize, you are not going to maximize your overall reimbursement health. Just like if you work out and you eat unhealthy after, you want to work out and you want to eat healthy for optimal health. And same with your reimbursements. If you negotiate first and then optimize, that's going to bring you even higher, make you even more competitive, and give you those fees that you want. Because we all want to meet our financial goals. We all have vacations. We all have employee demands that are rising, costs are rising, etc. So we're all about finding those little ways to tweak and to get those better reimbursements, the very best actually, because that's what you deserve. So optimization is a better opportunity because it takes you a step further than negotiations alone. So, based on your current participation, like we were talking about earlier, we can identify alternative arrangements that may be more profitable than negotiations alone. So, for example, when we were talking about how you have one PPO that could go maybe in 4 or 5 different directions, what does insurance companies do automatically? They reimburse you on the lowest payer. So what our company does is we figured out a way to actually shift you to the highest payer. And that's part of our service. It's a massive part of what we do for our clients. So just to break it down, there are multiple pathways to participate. And what we do is we help thousands of practices to optimize how to participate. And that's really that competitive edge that you're looking for that's beyond negotiations that will get you those best possible reimbursements for your practice. And the reason why it is important to get an expert involved in this is because there are risks involved and specific timelines. So when you shift certain plans, some of them may only pick up under an umbrella company in certain times of the year. Some of them have very specific timelines for terminating or opt-outs, etc. etc. There are lots and lots of moving parts, and it's similar to, yes, you could do your taxes on your own, and some of you may be great tax gurus and you're great at it, or you could hire an expert who understands taxes, understands the laws very well. And same with your reimbursements. You know, you only have so much time in a day. You're doing dentistry, or maybe you're an office manager, you're running the practice, and that's what you specialize in. And what we specialize in is understanding negotiations, optimization, the risks involved, and those specific timelines. So again, just to show you some visuals with optimization opportunities. So PPOs, pretty much all of them besides Delta, have relationships with other PPOs, okay? So this is one way that we can optimize your participation, is by looking at those relationships, okay? And then again, when it comes to alternative ways to participate, yes, one PPO can go to another, but you also have those umbrella companies, and the umbrella companies are important too. You always want to look at all facets of the industry whenever it comes to maximizing your reimbursements. So, how to calculate the return on investment from PPO negotiations? For over 10 years, Unitas has implemented this plan and framework for thousands of dentists across the US. We have helped pioneer representation for dentists. I always like to tell the story of Mike, who's one of our founders. His son was a dentist, and he noticed that the reimbursements were not as high as he was hoping. So he did do the negotiations himself. So this company was founded on a personal interest in this space, and that's really continued throughout the years. So number two, Unitas can project your return on investment through our average results, which we'll go over here just in a minute. So if your annual production is around 1 million, which is very common, or I would say it's pretty average. Some of you may be lower than this, and some of you may be higher, but around 1 million is pretty typical for a dental office. So what we want to do is we want to shrink that number down for our starting amount, because we don't want to assume that we can increase all PPOs. As you all probably know, Delta will most likely not negotiate. You have fee for service, you have Medicaid, that kind of thing. So 50% of your annual production of 1 million gives us a starting negotiable production of 500,000. Based on our average results, we do a 10% increase on your reimbursements. So a 10% increase on your negotiable amount of 500,000 gives you a projected revenue increase of $50,000. And to be honest, with negotiations, you generally see on the lower side of increase in revenue. With optimization, it's more on the higher side. So again, if you negotiate and optimize, you are going to bring those reimbursements up much higher than if you just negotiate. And I just know this from doing this so many times, having lots of clients. Those clients who are open to doing that optimization work, which pretty much everyone is, are going to make more than clients who just strictly negotiate. So you can plug in this information on your own, do the math here, and figure out how much you would make from doing this service. So just some results from our previous clients. This was Dr. Morgan in North Carolina. We negotiated 5 PPO contracts and optimized 2. So Dr. Morgan's projected revenue increase was $64,000. For Dr. Baker in Texas, we negotiated 5 contracts and optimized 3. Dr. Baker's projected revenue increase was $79,000. And Dr. Young in Florida negotiated 7 PPO contracts and optimized 4. And Dr. Young's projected revenue increase was over 100,000. So these are some real results of our providers. I used to do the negotiations myself. I've seen, low ball around 30,000, and the highest that I did was 500,000. So this is a very lucrative service. I would say if you're PPO driven, you obviously, more PPOs that you have, the more for us to do. You can always schedule a consultation with us, which I'll go over here in a minute on those steps, and just see if it would be a good fit for us to work together. At the end of the day, you have nothing to lose, just to figure out how you can maximize your reimbursements. So So just as an overview, 3 key strategies for increasing your PPO reimbursements. Number one, understanding your PPO participation in current reimbursements is the baseline for what we do. You need to understand your participation status with each PPO, understand your current reimbursements before you can move forward with the negotiations and with the optimizations. Number two, you want to tactfully approach negotiations and, of course, ensuring you don't waste time on the wrong procedures, as that will be a distraction from uh, what's at hand, what is really going to affect your bottom line. Number three, maximizing your negotiation opportunities. Like I said, yes, of course, you can do some negotiations on your own. I really haven't seen anyone successfully do optimization like we do, just because we are the experts. Like I said, we have had so much experience doing this, and we can help evaluate those opportunities to maximize your in-network participation. So you may feel like this a little bit right now. I really resonate with this picture because my son is, he's 14 months and he's discovering the water hose, and that's been really fun for us. And anyway, so maybe you feel information overload right now. So if you want to download the framework, if you didn't get all the notes, you had to take a breather, here's the QR code. You can scan this here, or you can go to www.ppoguide.com, download everything that we discussed today, and you'll see it all right there. So what's going to happen after you finish this webinar today? I always say dentists are the busiest people in the world, and it's true. You're going to go back to treating patients, scheduling appointments, and the 9 million other things that you guys have on your to-do list. So if you are looking to maximize your reimbursements, we are going to make you an offer today. So if you schedule a consultation with us, our consultations are always free. At the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. You might as well schedule and just see how we could potentially help you. This is a free 30-minute consultation. We will review your PPO insurances. Please come with a list of insurances. That's going to be really helpful for us to understand how we can help you. And also, please come with your annual production. So then we can calculate what you can expect to make from working with us. Those are the two things that I highly recommend coming with on the consultation, because then we'll be able to identify how we can help you and kind of place you, because we do have many different departments. All of our clients have different needs. Okay. So we will provide you with some bonuses if you do schedule a consultation that I want to go over today. So we do offer you a provider relations list. It is going to save you lots of time because this is the most up-to-date list. It's always current. Print it out, keep it handy for your staff. So again, this is going to be a free resource to you if you do sign up for a consultation. We also are going to provide you with an e-guide of the 35 common insurance problems and how to avoid them. We have compiled lots of frequently asked questions over the years about downcoding, balance billing, out-of-network benefits, tax ID changes, adding an associate, so on and so forth. So this is a great e-guide for you to have some reading material at night. So this, again, is going to be free just as long as you schedule a consultation with us. We also provide you with a fee schedule analysis tool. So we were talking about this earlier. This is a tool that's going to help you analyze the offers and figure out how your reimbursements compare to other PPOs. So the formulas and calculations are even included, which is great for those of us people who are not techie. And again, this will be offered to you for free, just as long as you schedule a webinar with us. So if you go to www.ppoguide.com/go. That's where you can schedule a consultation. Again, that's www.ppoguide.com/go. So let's just do a recap of what you'll receive. So number one, of course, most important, your PPO evaluation and ROI projection. You want to come with your PPO list or your office manager, whichever is more handy, and then your return on investment projection, meaning we need your 12-month production summary, or not necessarily a summary, but we need your overall annual production to calculate ROI. You are going to receive the e-guide of the 35 most common insurance problems and how to avoid them. You're going to get your master provider relations list as well, and your fee schedule analysis tool. So, of course, hours of time saved, so you don't have to look up this information on your own. You can't really find this on Google anyway. And of course, higher PPO reimbursement rates, which is what we're all looking to do. We're all on the same team here, and we just want everyone to win. We want everyone to be able to be reimbursed fairly from the insurance companies, because that's what you deserve. You've gone to so much schooling, you work so hard, and you might as well get paid more for doing what you do. So I'm going to go over some common frequently asked questions today. So, number one, are there any PPOs that won't negotiate? Delta usually doesn't negotiate, and I already went over that earlier in the webinar. That's always a letdown for many people, but I do want to put it in perspective that it's like saying, okay, well, I shouldn't go to the gym at all because if I go to the gym, I can't lose 50% of my body weight. Well, that sounds silly, doesn't it? But what if you can lose 5% of your body weight? That's still an improvement. And same when it comes to your financials. If you're just saying, oh, I'm not going to negotiate at all because Delta won't, you're letting the PPOs win and you're not doing yourself a favor by maximizing what you're being paid. Okay. Number two, can we work with Unitas and what do you charge? Great question. All of our product types are different. They have a range of prices. So if you schedule a consultation with us, we will be able to evaluate you, number one, and make sure we are a good fit and that our goals are in alignment. Number two, figuring out if we are a good fit, where should we place you? Because we do have many different departments because of our varying needs of our clients. Okay. Number three, we're thinking about dropping PPOs. Is that something you can help with? Yes. This is becoming more popular. Every office is a little bit different in how they want to strategize it. I always, always, always recommend working with a professional consulting company like ours if you do want to drop PPOs. The reason why is because, not to scare anyone, but I have seen instances where people will just go cold turkey and pull the plug and drop their PPOs, and they have to lay off their staff. They're struggling because they didn't realize how it would affect their practice. It is very, very important if you're going to make a decision like that to work with a professional who understands how to evaluate which PPOs to drop, the timing, so on and so forth. And also to caveat there, even if you think you're dropping a PPO, it may drop and then pick up somewhere else. It's probably what's going to happen. So again, those are all things that we can help mitigate whenever you work with us. Number four, I'm opening or purchasing a new practice. How do I set up my PPO contracts? Do I need to get credentialed if I'm already in network at another location? Another great question. You do need to credential for your new tax ID number. Even if you're in network at a different location, those contracts don't follow you. You do need to credential at that new location. And of course, that's something that we can help with as well. We do have many different service types that can help fit your needs there. And then lastly, I'm adding an associate and I want them to treat insured patients. Do they need to be credentialed or can they just bill under me? That is really not proper. We really encourage best practices for all of our clients, and best practice would be that your associates are credentialed, meaning they sign up with the insurance companies and they have their own contracts. And this really is for your protection. Don't want to go into too many details there, but at the end of the day, if you were audited for any reason, you really want to do things properly. You want to make sure that the person who is performing the treatment is contracted under that PPO and that the billing is affiliated with their name. So if you have any other questions that you want to ask, you can always email us at pposolutions@unitasdental.com, or feel free to reach out to my email directly, shay.forcade@unitasdental.com. Which Shirley did post here in the chat as well. You can also schedule a consultation with us. Like I said, those are always free. You don't know what you don't know at the end of the day. So if you schedule a free consultation, again, we will go over if we're a good fit, how we should work together. We'll go over your projected return on investment and kind of calculate what you can expect to work from us. And then, of course, you will get those freebies as well. So thank you all so much for having me. And again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Shay. That was just a wonderful presentation. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Just a reminder again, if you would like CE for this evening's webinar, please complete the survey in the chat if you have not already, and it isn't posted in the chat, so you'll be able to hit that link or copy and paste it for later use. We did record tonight's webinar, and we'll email the recording out sometime in the next week. And we'd love to get your feedback via our survey that will pop up shortly on your screen. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you again, Shay. That was again a wonderful presentation, and we look forward to seeing you all in future webinars. Have a wonderful night.